Beyond grades, there we are. Grades. Grades are often treated as the final word on how much a student has learned. Yet they rarely tell the full story of skill, growth, or mastery. Many students demonstrate learning through projects, presentations, or real world applications that never appear on transcript. Thinking about your own experience, in what ways have you demonstrated your learning outside of grades or test scores? And did those demonstrations matter in how your instructors recognized your progress? Okay, let's go with Bo.
Um, I think that one of the things that I've taken away from the program at Indiana was I remember my I had my interview conversation with Dr. Brush, and he called me on the phone just to kind of vet whether or not we were kind of on the same page and would be a good fit for the program, or the program would be a good fit for me. And one of the things that he said to me during that call was that they've tried to structure the program in a way that the majority of the coursework that we do, carrying all the way into our dissertation here as well, they would like it to be as much as possible directly applicable to our careers. And so in this example here, this question, the demonstration of what we're learning is not necessarily going to always be something that's observed by the instructors or the faculty members, but it's something that we as the individuals who are going through these programs have the opportunity to see that learning come to life in our real world. And I mean, Dr. Bonk and I, even though we talk every now and then, I don't think that I've ever sat down with him and explained how I've really applied what I've taken away from the program at Indiana, and what that's done for my career as well. And so they might not necessarily see it, but we as the learners do have the opportunity to view it in an external capacity there.
Right, right, right. Excellent point. Okay, Emily's next.
Yes, again, to piggyback on what Bo has said, I think the same thing has been true for me. All of the assignments, the assessments, I've been able to demonstrate my learning in my real world context through my career. And so that's been demonstrated through how I have applied that in putting out different trainings or creating handouts, creating online courses. I think it has also given me a better theoretical understanding of why I'm doing what I'm doing and why it works. So I think that the real world application through the authentic assignments has been beneficial.
Mm, right on. And Christy, please.
Um, Piggybacking off both of those, the ability to choose your own context and to apply that to your context. As I said, from semester one, I was able to do that. And for me, I knew that I was learning because I was being able to actually apply what was happening in the classroom. And kind of on that same note, I really appreciate the instruction that we get at IU because when I took the adult learning across the lifespan, we actually learned about all of the theories for adult learning. And if anything, I'm seeing our professors practice what they preach. So basically, these best practices that we learned about, they're integrating them into the class, which makes it super easy to actually be able to choose that context and demonstrate what they're teaching.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yes, yes. And Sam, please.
Yes, so I wholeheartedly kind of agree with what this question is trying to get at, which is that as students, sometimes we do so much outside the classroom and it's not recognized within the classroom or within the grade we get in a particular course. And I know we've talked a lot about how graduate school is kind of like this transformative experience way beyond undergrad, but I also did graduate school. And yes, we did get more of that hands-on experience, but I also don't feel like it was the end all be all or that it did enough, honestly. Um, and as a student, the feeling of, wow, I'm doing so much and I know how to do this thing, but it's not being recognized, it's really incredibly frustrating. Um, Throughout my academic career, I've demonstrated learning in ways that never held any weight in the classroom. I've been active in research, from community engaged violence prevention work with Black youth to projects on trauma and resilience to explorations of community connectedness and youth empowerment. I've spoken at research conferences and contributed to publications along the way. And I even created my very own conference and organized events that brought together hundreds of students, researchers, and community members to share knowledge and advocate for change. None of that was on my transcript. None of that showed up in my GPA. And it was really kind of hard to stomach. I even in my clinical work, because I am a clinical therapist, social worker, psychologist, in my training, I interned at hospitals, community organizations, schools, and worked directly with students, youth, and families, and provided therapy, advocated for social justice, coordinated care, like all these hands-on experiences that required real application of what I was learning in the classroom. You would really think I would get like an A++ in any practicum course after that. But I didn't actually. In fact, I lost points one time because I was late to an event with my supervisor because I was unable to leave one of my clients that was in active crisis. In that instance, the only thing that mattered was that I didn't meet the standard of professionalism expected of that particular instructor, regardless of my actual proven capabilities and all these other aspects, right? And that kind of grading definitely felt disconnected from the depth and complexity of what I was actually doing and learning at the time. So while my aforementioned experiences may not appear on a transcript, they are still moments to me where I truly grew and learned, and I do wish they had been accounted for.
You know, Samantha, I saw a resume of one of my students recently that intrigued me because she was able to take projects like what you've worked on and create a more robust, more engaging CV or resume of her work, because you could click on it and actually have a pictures or videos or explanations or reflections mapped in, they're connected to it. It was her CV come alive to me, and I wonder whether one's learning and what one wants to show about one's learning has to have that feeling now, because there are so many ways in which we can show what we've learned, and there are many digital tools as well as physical tools, ways in which we can express ourselves. And I think that's got to become the norm, um, because it's people like you that are on the cusp of finding ways to connect with others, help others, support others that society needs. It's not, we don't need, society doesn't need people to pass XYZ more courses, but we need to have people who learn some content and skills to help other people out. And you're doing that. And we're not recognizing it. It was what you're saying. And that's a disservice to you. It's a disservice to the people around you, to people you could potentially impact with your next job opportunity that comes your way, that may not come your way because the structures that we exist to in the transcripts, the courses and so forth, don't enable us to express and communicate what we do know and how we've made an impact on others and how we hope to in the future. So I applaud your efforts wholeheartedly, and I'm a little ashamed of higher education and the system that we exist within, but I see some bright lights here from people like you and the student I'm talking about here. I'm seeing some bright lights and some things going off in my head about what we can do.
Thank you.
Right. So this is yeah, let's keep the conversation on the, you know, the focus on the gosh, on the bright lights. I really, Samantha, as I listen to you, yeah, I don't want to say that it sounds depressing, but it's definitely a, um, wake up call. I mean, we've been talking about accountability, I don't know, since let's just say, things like Nations at Risk and, those reports back in the 1990s and, early 2000s, 30, 40 years in the making. Where are we with this, right? In a sense that, we can't possibly be thinking that, academy is this ivory tower that's going to be unshattered ever. Look what's happening to higher education these days, the public trust, public, confidence that we can do anything right is only going down the hill, and it's just not the best of futures that we can be looking at. So again, I'm just very grateful for all your voices. So with that, we are at 11:30. I think we can wrap up our engagement for today. I know we did have 10 questions. That it's better to be over prepared than under prepared, right? We can always have session number 2 in the future if you're up to it. Then we can do it again in the spring with the following questions and so forth. But before we let everyone go, would you please maybe following up Samantha's lead here, if you were to issue an advice or word of the wise or what would you say to faculty and administrators, people who do govern higher education as a system, who are responsible for their own institutions, who make decisions about funding, how instruction is scheduled, and who are the best instructors and so forth. Uh, what comes to your mind, considering your experience? What do you think you could tell us to make things different, if not necessarily better?
And in effect, you're saying, if you can't think of anything, at least make a final comment.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's my point exactly. Leah, please.
I think the thing that I would end off with is the importance of treating students as co-creators and as co-learners, and the importance of treating learning as a process. I think the professors that have stuck with me the most are the ones who've integrated opportunities for us as students to apply feedback throughout the process, through things like draft submissions or reflections or peer review or check-ins that emphasize future growth and how we can grow as learners, rather than simply looking backwards at what we've quote unquote done wrong. And I think it's important to recognize that meaningful learning doesn't always have to come from instruction or from lecturing or from professor to student, but it also comes from dialogue and the negotiation of ideas and hands-on learning in the real world.
Yeah, go Leah. Excellent. Thank you so much. Excellent summary. Emily, please, you're next.
Thank you, Leah. I agree with everything you just said. I would think for me, especially with all the different modalities and distance learning becoming really popular, I think it's important for everybody to remember that everybody is a human. There's a name, there's a face, they've have lived experiences, and to just remember that even with feedback, to be constructive and to make those connections and make those relationships, because you never know when that will make a difference.
Excellent. Right on. Thank you so much, Emily. Christy's next.
Agreeing with all of you who just preceded me. Just the big thing, my, I guess, takeaway and my last word of advice is remember how important it is to be student-centered and to hear what your students need and to actually listen and reflect and be flexible. I know, believe me, I've seen some of the chat comments. I know that some of that can be seen as hard to do or impossible to do, but in the grand scheme of things, like Emily is saying, we don't know where someone's coming from. So no, just trying to respect the fact that they might be having a hard time, that sort of thing, just being flexible and giving them choice.
Absolutely. Student voices. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sam?
Yeah, I think going back to what our first original question, I just think it's so important for educators to cultivate a learning environment where, again, students want to be in collaboration with you, because Leah's right, it's a collaborative process. You know, I think doing that internal reflection of like, am I putting something out there that others want to hear? And if they're not hearing me, what is that barrier? How do we bridge that gap? How do we bridge that distance to create, you know, that connection? Looking at students as students rather than just the number or grade that they're getting, and kind of really grounding yourself in your mission, because I'm sure all of you became educators because you wanted to teach, because you wanted to make an impact on student lives. So just don't forget that kind of goal, that the goal is not this like 100 score or, you know, census among your students to get a certain grade. But really the goal is that you helped them do something that they couldn't do when before they met you. You changed them in some way.
That's exactly right. Excellent. Thank you so much, Samantha and Bo.
Yeah. First, thank you guys so much for having all of us on here today. We really appreciate the opportunity, and it's phenomenal that we have the chance to have this type of discourse. I really appreciate it. One of the things that I was going to throw out there as a final thought, though, was I'm currently teaching a course at Purdue, and one of the things that I try to project outwardly towards my students is what I would hope to see from them is this level of curiosity, and to continue being curious, not only about your instruction, the way that you interact with your students or anything like that, but just being curious about the ways that you go about doing things, and never falling into that trap of you know, carrying out the course the exact same way every single semester, because that's the way it's been done before. Always explore new ways of doing things, because there are these amazing tools that are out there for us now, as we've kind of alluded to here, and they do provide us these just exceptional opportunities to carry out, you know, learning, to also connect with others, and just to make education a more exciting opportunity for everyone around the world. Thank you.
And I want to say thanks to Sam, Leah, Christy, Emily, and Bo. We've heard from people in Texas, Indiana, Michigan, Ontario, and California. Thanks to Enrique. Thanks to Jarek. We have common voices no matter where we are in North America. We're hearing similar things today about learning and how to improve learning and the assessment of that learning. And I see in the chat, we need to have part 2. Maybe we'll arrange that. Jarek and the panelists will convene and talk about that, whether we have a follow-up. We've gotten to half the questions, but I've enjoyed the first half of the questions tremendously. I've learned a lot from all of you. Very thoughtful in your comments, and it's going to change how I approach my syllabi in the spring, to be honest. And I think about the design of them. So I've had a great time here on Halloween, on Friday afternoon, October 31st. Thank you all, and have fun at Halloween tonight.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. That really was a great experience.